All right, folks, we're live on YouTube, live on Zoom. Thank you for attending tonight's training, payment processing, with our special guest and industry pro, Hugh Pober. And I'm really excited for you all to get a chance to hear from him, hear his stories. We live in the same neighborhood, and he's a golfer. I'm a golfer, but not really a golfer. And every time I get to golf with Hugh, his stories. I mean, everyone in the neighborhood knows he's a storyteller. I don't know if he loves telling stories, but he's always telling stories. Very entertaining, very captivating, and extremely knowledgeable about this space. He's been in this industry for decades. He's done very well. And his residual income, puts him in a very nice financial position himself. And he's the expert who's talking to your clients. And that's what's exciting about this. And, Wade Cordell had a client sign up who is a franchise owner. And he said, well, I want to talk to you and talk to him about a few of my locations. I'll try it. And if so, then we'll move it through all of our franchises. And he had a real unique, interesting situation. It was very difficult. And Wade was telling me the knowledge that Hugh has and the patience and the time that he spent to work through and finagle through and find a way with the client, because the client changed a couple of things on what they wanted to do based on their equipment and their equipment limitations. And it wasn't just sorry, you're gone, buddy. I gave you the offer. Do you want it or not? There was no feeling like that. It was a hand-holding process. And that that gave that customer the comfort to use our service. And that could become, dozens of restaurants in the near future. And that's the type of service your clients are going to get. But it also depends on you helping to set the table the right way. He'll take care of the table if it's set right. If it's not set right, it's very hard. It's inefficient. And it's very difficult to take care of a customer that you can't talk to. It's very hard to take care of a customer who won't fill out the application. It's very hard to take care of a customer who won't provide their driver's license. So in the end, there's going to be things we may be calling on you to do, shaking the tree a little bit, but it's not heavy lifting. The heavy lifting is the expertise that Hugh Pober's developed over the last couple decades in this space. And he's seen all the changes in the come and go and the new cash discounting and the convenience fee or dual pricing. He's going to talk about all that. But before we get to the expert, I just wanted to share a couple more things with you about how you're paid on this, how the process works, and then he's going to take over on the industry and some best practices and stuff. Number one, remember, we all have our own replicated website, davidallencapital.com / it's your payment processing link / your ID number. So when you're in your site, you can share that link. It's in your welcome letter. You can share that link. When we get the app launched, you're going to have commercials, videos, right? They promote the payment processing. You'll be able to share those right to a customer. Your link's embedded. You'll know if they open them, etc. It's not live yet, but when that's live, it's going to be pretty cool. And it's coming soon. But once you share your link, they're going to fill out a form. And based on the answers in that form, it's a short form, just a few questions. Based on the answers in that short form, at your replicated link, we're going to determine which processor to send them to. And most of them are going to go to Hugh's channel. Some are going to a channel called Sphere. And we don't know whether that's going to continue long-term or if we're just going to send them all to to Hugh's team, or if we're going to keep some to Sphere. So we're trying to see the advantages. And after our discussion yesterday with Hugh's team, we feel like we might be at an advantage to move them all to Hugh's team rather than sending some to Sphere. So we're still mulling through that, just in full transparency. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that happens in the near future or in the future at some point. But for now, they fill out that form, and some are going to go right to Sphere, and Sphere is going to work with them. That's a different processing team. Hugh's specialty is special projects, some startups, some high-risk industries, things like that. That's where his team comes in. Now, I love the personal catering that Hugh gives a client. So my personal feeling is I want every one of my personal clients to go to Hugh's team. Okay. So, but when they answer those questions, some are going to go to Sphere, some are going to go to Hugh's expert team. All right. Which starts with him. From there, they're going to they must, once they're in the form, they must upload 3 months processing statements if they are currently processing. So one of the questions we ask is, are you currently processing? If so, they must upload 3 month statements. They must upload 3 months checking account statements. They must upload a driver's license. Okay. So those are requirements before they even submit a full request for quote from Hugh's team. If they go to Sphere, they don't have to do that. They upload them if they want to, and the Sphere team chases them, and we don't have a lot of luck getting documents. So when we go to Hugh's team, we require the documents before proceeding, because some of them are they're more high risk or higher workload. And so we don't want to have to chase someone's document. All right. Once they get all that, then Hugh reaches out to them himself and talks to them, gets to know the client, gets to know the process, and sends them an application that they're going to have to fill out. But he'll have some discussions with them. And there's a couple of things you're going to learn on here that are just they're no-goes. Like if someone's been terminated from payment processing before, they're not going to get approved anywhere. They may as well not do it. And if they own 25% or more of a company, that company is not getting approved. They will not be able to take credit cards. So the payment processing industry has a list. We call it the blacklist. And if you're on it, you are not getting payment processing. But I don't want to get into any more of that, just to say that once they sign up for processing, so Hugh's team walks through the payment processing equipment, the processing, the costs, talks about cash discount or dual pricing. Once they activate, this is the way it works for your commissions and your qualification volume. Okay. Once they activate, let's say they activate in September and they process in September. Okay, maybe they applied in August, but they're still processing. They start processing, not when they agree and sign the agreement. They start processing in September. Then they have all of September, and then has to be another month of processing before any commissions come. So now there's October processing. So they process in September, they process in October. Now November 15th, by November 15th, we're expected to be compensated. And then we can upload within 4 or 5 days your personal residual revenue for qualifications. And then you're paid the 15th of the following month on your commission run. Okay. So again, September processing, we're not told about until not October. We're told about November. We put it in your system for November qualifications, and you're paid for that in December. All right. So it's a longer tail, but once it's built, it goes and goes and goes. I get residual. I know of people, I don't want to talk about my own, who are making $300 a month residual and have been for 4 years on one client. And they make $300 a month. It's a car payment well, not anymore, but it used to be a nice car payment every single month. And Hugh will tell you other stories. But so that's what we're doing this for, is the personal residual volume. As I just said in that meeting, if you help someone get $100,000 in processing, it's probably going to be 800 residual revenue, which is going to more than qualify you, right? You only need 200 residual revenue to be qualified in your pay plan. So that's like, $40,000 in payment processing. You're qualified every month. One client can do that. So with that, we can talk more about commissions if you have questions at the end, but I don't want to waste any more time with my talking. I want the expert to share. So first of all, let me add the spotlight. You're looking sharp, Hugh.
I actually got dressed up today for you.
Yeah, I haven't seen you without a golf hat in a while.
Just got back from doing that out there with some friends for a little while, but everything went well. It was the last day of our league that they do on Tuesday night. So pretty cool.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to be out here tonight and investing this time with us. So I know we're just going to do a conversation style. You've got a lot to cover, and I don't want to throttle you back at all. I want to just give you the free way to do what you want and share what you want. You've trained so many agents before. You know these are referral agents, so they don't need to know everything about breaking down a bill and all that. But you had some real simple things, and I'm really excited for you to share. But before we do that, can you give us an answer to, if one of our agents is new and they say, well, why us? Why our payment processing over someone else? What would be your answer to that?
Pretty much the number one thing that I would share with everybody is that, having been in this industry for 21 years, I have seen and heard every story, every pricing game, every iteration of what is a good deal. And there's usually two ways that you can approach a merchant, and the merchant is going to be satisfied with the service that we provide and basically the hand holding of getting them up and running, because pretty much any merchant that you talk to is gone through this exercise. If they've been around more than 3 or 4 or 5 years, there's always guys like me and all of you knocking on their doors to try to get the merchant account moved over to them. So that is the competition that is out there. So you have to be really good at saying, if we're sticking to the traditional way of credit card processing, which basically means, when I use that word traditional, that means that the business owner, the merchant, is paying the bill. They're paying that bill every single month. So if they're doing $100,000 and they're getting charged 3%, they're paying $3,000 a month. Our job is to educate them and say, and one of the lines that I think is the most easy to use is, hey, does it make sense for me to take a look at your business and tell you where you are based on my expertise? And for all of you, I'm going to, you would say, I'm going to turn this over to a guy that has been in this industry 21 years. So he's seen and heard everything. He knows what's going on. And I think it makes sense for you to do this. So when you say, does it make sense for you to do this, and just leave that question alone until they answer, 99 out of 100 people will say, yeah, it makes sense. Because if you're saving me money where you're at 3% and I'm going to take you down to 2.75%, I'm saving you $500 a month on traditional credit card processing, the way that I compete with all my competitors every day. Secondly, there is a new process out there, and wherever all of you live, I'm sure you've gone out and they say, hey, if you're going to use a credit card, you're going to pay 4% for using that credit card. So you're either paying me cash, or you're going to hand me a credit card, or you're going to pay me with a check. And that happens online as well as brick and mortar. So when you get into that type of a program with them, people will say, well, I'm not really interested in being the first one on the street to implement a 4% charge out there, and giving them the opportunity to say, you can pay me cash or you can pay me with credit card. But when you pay me with credit card, I'm adding $4 to your bill. So if you spend $100 at my store, you're going to spend $104. Most people, most merchants now, because everybody that's on this call, I don't think there's been anybody that hasn't been hit with that. And you're not going to get up and leave a restaurant, a store, or whatever. There's a lot of different factors: the price of gasoline, your time, your money, all that kind of stuff. People just go, yeah, I'm okay with paying 4%. I have clients that process $700,000, $800,000 a month, and their average tickets are $30,000. Times 4%, $1,200, and none of them are complaining, because they're in love with, number one, their points on their rewards cards. Number two, they aren't going to go someplace else just because of that 4%. And then the customers that we educate, the merchants that we educate, we will tell them, hey, I'm just being transparent with you. I could tell you that product costs $104, and I'll collect the $4 anyway, because I can make my prices whatever they are. But I'm telling you, I'm keeping my prices at 100, and I'm going to charge you 4%, or write me a check or pay me cash. The merchants love that, because when they opt for cash or a check, they don't pay anybody. And the client isn't upset. But most people in these economic times, the last couple of years, it is crazy how many people have done that. I will, based on what I'm seeing, just with my own clients and my own book of business, in 5 years, there won't be anybody not doing that. So for a earnings standpoint for all of you, the commission on a $100,000 traditional account because everybody and their brother on Main Street, wherever you are, has been hit on by guys like me to say, hey, I can come in and save you $100 a month. And you might make, as a rep in the industry, let's just use a round number, $100 on a dual pricing account. What we're doing, and this is critical, that you don't necessarily have to share this with the merchant, but when we're charging 4%, and let's say that they're overall processing all month long, and for the sake of the ease of the example, let's say that they're month after month after month after month, they're paying 2% to their processor. If they're paying 2% and we're charging 4%, the revenue that is coming to us is 2% of that revenue. So if you've got 2% of 100,000, right, that's $2,000. If you're getting 1/10 of 1% on the traditional side, you're making 100. So it's literally 15 to 20 times more lucrative for you guys to promote the cash discount. If they absolutely say no, we'll take care of you both ways. But they'll say, hey, you know what? I'm the first. I'll use David's example. I'm the first pizza guy on the block that's doing this. All right. Well, do you think people love your product more than that pizza store down the road? If they do, they're not going to worry about the 4% because they're getting, and everybody here probably has a credit card where you're getting 3 points, 4 points, or even 5 points. So it's a wash. And they want their points, and they don't have the money to pay for the products in cash. They just don't have it.
So let me just summarize something real quick that you said, because I think some people, we've always called it cash discounting. Right. I like to call it a convenience fee and dual pricing, but anyone who's listening in, that's the same thing, just so you know. Today, by the way, Hugh, I called Milford, city of Milford, to pay my water bill for the downtown office.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to pay it over the phone. And they said, you're fine. I said, can I pay with a credit card? They said, sure, but we charge a 4% convenience fee to use credit card because we don't get. And I said, why is that? I know the answer, but I wanted to see how they explain it. And she said, well, when you give us $100, we don't get 100 if it's payment processing. So for you to pay your full bill, we got to charge the 4% fee to get the net out of it to actually pay your bill. That makes all the sense in the world. And it didn't bother me at all. I didn't say, well, why you charge, you just pay it. But so what he said, guys, if you didn't hear that, your residual revenue is based on how much profit is in the account. So if your standard processing will save them a little bit, maybe we'll save them $100 a month, but our residual revenue is going to be far lower because the amount of profit in the account is real low. And the merchant is still paying all the fees. If they can see their way to move over to the dual pricing or cash discounting or convenience fee, however you want to call it, which Hugh is now moving all his clients over to that. Is like he said, 5 years from now, they'll all be there. And most clients are now accepting that. Gas stations, it's been that way forever, right? Or 10 years or so. So if they'll move to that, they get all their fees covered. The customers don't balk, and you make how much more? Did you say, Hugh, about 10 times more? 15 to 20 times more. You'll make 50. So if your residual revenue is 10, it would be 150. If your residual is whether 100, it'll be 1,500. So just call it 10 times more even. So you make a lot more money, helping the client keep a lot more money, and the customers all share it equally, and they don't even see it. They don't even feel it. All right, thank you. Well, that's great.
And one other thing I'll bring up on that note, to parallel it to the gas station model throughout the country is very real to everybody. And then you would say to them, hey, when you go to the gas pump, you pay cash. Is it cheaper? Yeah. When you pay with a debit card, is it a little bit more expensive? Yep. When you pay with a credit, it's a little bit more expensive than that, right? So it's a tiered deal. Same thing here. They've been doing it for 50 years, 40 years for sure, when they put those credit card terminals inside the gas pumps when we all started seeing them, and the biggest thing that people will really resonate to is when you go to a business and you say, what are some of the expenses? Be a consultant rather than a credit card processing salesperson, and say, what other expenses in your business are driving you crazy? I talked to a party store the other day that does $400,000 a month. And he said, I am getting killed on electricity and gas for my party store / grocery store. He said, my bills have tripled since the whatever's happening with the supply of energy and the supply of gas. And I said, well, how much more is that a year? And he said $80,000 more. And I said, well, you're doing 400 grand a month, right? Times your average month is about 2.5%. That's $10,000 a month. Times 12, that's 120,000. I'm basically putting 4 grand in your pocket. Yeah, that's you're paying your bank 120 grand.
Yeah.
And when you really get into it with them, and they'll go, well, what if I lose a customer? I go, what's your average customer worth? And generally they will know a little, but not a lot. Just say, based on your statement that you shared with me, your average customer spends $60. Based on the number of transactions you showed me and the volume that you did, you're at about $150. So if you lose 10 of those, you lose $1,500. The net to you is $8,500 based on what you're saving, because you're not having to pay your merchant bill anymore. So will they come back to your store because they love your store? Yes. And because everybody's starting to do it more and more, that it's becoming the norm. And it's crazy for the residuals to do that. And the number one thing that all of us need to get, the only way we can see in their business from a credit card processing standpoint is their 3 statements, their last 3 months. And when you get them, you got to be very, very thorough in that. If they supply them on the website that we have active, then we've got them, because we always tell them we need front and back of every page, because when the bank reviews them, they don't want page 5 of 6 missing. So even if it's blank, include it. And so when you're getting it, if you get them in person, or you tell people, hey, make sure when you upload that, copy front and back, please, and make it in PDF form or whatever, so it's easy to open. And then we know their business, and some of the businesses that you guys will call on are hesitant to give that information. I told David the other day, that's the hardest thing in my business to get.
Mm-hmm.
And they think you are getting their financial information, but when people flip out about that, I'll say, then just go in there and black out your merchant number, black out who you're dealing with, because I could care less who you deal with. It doesn't matter. But I want to see the ingredients in the recipe of what you're doing. And then I will come back to you and I'll go, here's option A, traditional, regular, here's cash discount. These are the 2 savings. And one of the things, while we're on that topic, when we're doing that, once we set these guys up, David asked me a very important question. If you have a client or a merchant that says, okay, I'm good with the cash discount, let's do that. All right. But I got one guy who's my favorite customer in the world, and he brings me a lot of business, and he's whining and crying about this. You hit the button on the terminal or on the website or whatever, and you override it, then the merchant pays the 4%, and that guy's happy. But
you can waive it on that one transaction. You
don't want to do that when you're in a ice cream store or a party store where there's 15 people in line, and that guy in the front cries about it, then all of them are going to say, well, I ain't paying it either. I'm not paying it either. So don't get in that habit. So those are kind of the nitty gritty. So the differences are, with all of the different models that we have to adhere to bring them retail, brick and mortar, orders over the phone, and e-commerce website stuff, there are a lot of movements that you guys won't ever participate in, but I've been through that deal, and it's becoming more point of sale systems, software programs that go along with websites, that some of them will let us work with them, some of them won't. But what I've developed over my first 15 years in it, I went to 1 processing house, all my deals. Now I'm at 10. So your client might say, well, who's he going to take it through? Well, there's only 4 big processors, and I'm hooked up with every one of them. There's 4 banks that are hooked up with those 4 processors. So if you tell me you hate one of them, I can go to number 2. You hate number 2, I go to number 3. And when they say, what if I want to switch back to traditional if this isn't working out? flip a switch and it's done.
Love it.
It's very
Let
simple.
me ask you this. One of the things that I really liked about what makes us different is with a client that we send you, you said to me, find out what type of equipment they have, because based on the type of equipment they have, we might be able to let them keep their same equipment because I may have processors who can use that equipment. But if I don't know, and so can you touch on that a little bit, how that works with POS systems?
Yeah, in the retail world, if you're not going to find a lot of people, you'll go into some smaller stores that simply have a credit card terminal.
Yeah.
Sitting on the counter, you plug the card into it and it's done. That terminal might be an ABC terminal. There's 10 brands out there, but I am connected to the #1 supplier of credit card terminals in the United States over the years. I dealt with 5 of them, but this guy's the best. So I'll call him and say, how much for a brand new one of these ABC terminals? And they'll go $300. And I'll say to the current merchant, I'll say, did you buy that terminal from your current guy or lady, or do you rent it? Which is the craziest thing in the world for a $300 terminal. Why are you renting it? Why are you paying $50 a month for 3 years? You're getting killed. So don't do that. And that opens the door sometimes, because they'll go, what do you mean? And I go, well, do $30 times 12. That's $360 times your contract length. That's 3. You're paying them $1,000 for a $300 piece of equipment. That #1 right there tells me I don't care about you. So you have to pay attention to that. And they'll ask all the time, will you give me my terminals free? No, I won't. You're buying it. You own it, because that thing's going to break down in 24 months and you have to buy another one. I'm not in the equipment business. I'm in the credit card processing business. I'll save you enough to you'll afford your terminals. Now, there are some of my carriers that will give them free, but they give them free. I don't. And I don't ever get in that free equipment game thing, because that's a never ending road with that one merchant. You'll never get them to buy it in the future. And some of them, when you get into POS systems now, let's say, I don't know, think about Home Depot. You walk up to Home Depot, you go to a self-checkout, that screen that checks you out, that's part of the point of sale system. But then the credit card reader that's off to the side where you tap or wave or insert, chip it, that terminal there is connected to that POS device. So some of the, let's say, if anybody ever did get Home Depot, which would be a massive account, you'd be retired in the next 20 days. But those guys deal with monster banks and they get taken care of. But when you're dealing with POS, they might say, hey, I use this provider right now, and they are not agnostic. They aren't letting everybody in. They're only going to allow this one processor to do it. So what my job is to become one of their processing agents, because I've been in the game 21 years. Anybody out there would say, I'll sign you up right now. So I would say, okay, now I can get that POS relationship with the merchant account behind it. So we marry those two together, and now it works. Because the credit card processing world is the wild, wild west in the US, because if I'm talking to somebody that has, I'm going to name one of the biggest processors, Fiserv, okay, and they work with Wells Fargo. So if I go in there and I'm talking to the merchant and they say, well, who are you going to take me to? I'm going to take you to Fiserv and Wells Fargo. And they go, well, that's who I'm with. Why would they do that? And I go, because the rep that sold this one is selling it at a higher rate than me over here. And Wells Fargo doesn't care and Fiserv doesn't care. It's whoever's taking care of the client the best. Now, when you get into the dual pricing, cash discount, convenience fee model, you have probably 10 merchant providers in the country that do it the right way. And I'm hooked up with 3 of them. So if one of them can't take the deal or doesn't want the deal, we can go to the next one and the next one. So those are, so the POS, it's a little bit more complicated. Then take it one step further. When you get into website stuff, you might have let's go to the service industry. There's a service industry giant out there. It's called Service Titan. Before you go into that real quick, because I get this question a lot. I never know how to answer it the right way. I get the question all the time of, what is the best way to answer their question about equipment? Do
do we offer equipment? Do we not offer equipment? Can they use their same equipment? Sometimes,
whatever their need is, if they just want a plain standalone terminal, I'll tell them, here's the 4 options. They're all $350 to $500. If you want the super duper fancy one, it's going to be $500 and it'll do everything you need it to do. In 2 years from now, there'll be a new model and you'll probably need that one.
Okay.
So on
do they need to get equipment though?
If they want to, they can live with their, if the current terminal is not locked by the current processor because they're password locked. I know how to get around that, but it's a pain. And sometimes they'll squawk about that and the other processor can get in there online and change it and screw it up. So the best is if they want to use their current terminal and they own it, we can reprogram it. But that's the simplest. That's the retail standalone credit card terminal that sits there. When you get into POS, you're buying all new stuff. And then when you get on the website, you are generally working with a web developer. And this is technical stuff, but I get a sheet from my bank that says, here's the magic, put that into the website. I don't do that. I send that to their tech guy and say, you do that and you call the tech people and work with them. Yeah. So once that's done, they turn the switch and now they're processing with us.
Okay, so if I'm talking to a client tomorrow as a referral agent and they say, we've got this equipment here that we all know how to use now. I want to save money, but I don't want to go through training all our pizza group how to order a pizza anymore. What do you say to that?
Generally, credit card terminals are like the cell phone. I mean, if you're looking at your computer, you're looking at your keypad on your cell phone. Generally, that's all you need in a credit card terminal. I got 20 of them in my office right now. I could show you them all. They look pretty darn close. And the training is you're either waving it, you're chipping it, they call it, chipping it, swiping it, or tapping it.
Okay, so even if I'm taking phone orders like I own an independent pizza shop like a Hungry Howie's, where I'm putting one large extra cheese, I'm putting that on a keypad. It's connected to the credit card reader, right?
Correct.
POS. Are those things easy to move away from?
Yeah. Like when we dealt with the pizza place we just did with Wade, they had to agree to buy the new equipment to work with us.
Was it screens or was it just
No, they keep all that. We've got to have, if you're picturing this, you got to have, let me just see here.
Like an Ingenico or something?
Yeah, they're all different. So you got to have this reader hooked up to that computer.
So they don't have to get a new computer. They just need a new reader.
They just need this reader going to this computer.
Okay. I thought they had to buy the whole new menu system and everything.
No, they can if they want, but generally that's the part they don't want to go away from.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want your pricing. Okay. Well, let me talk to your provider of your software and ask them what they'll allow. And generally, this is stuff that I'm going to do. The reps never have to do this, but they'll squawk and say, no, we don't want you using anybody outside of us. And I'll go, if my client jumps up and down on the desk hard enough, you're going to let them do it? And they'll go, yeah, because you don't want to lose the software revenue. You don't want to lose the licensing revenue for all 50 of those stores. So my guy's going to get his way, isn't he? And they say, man, how long you been doing this? I go, 21 years. And they go, you know what you're doing. Because usually the rookies will hang the phone up and say, can't do the deal. See you later.
Right. Well, that's what's happening with the pizza place, right? Isn't their software provider rewriting to allow cash?
Now they're going to rewrite it for him.
Yeah, for him, for all his locations.
Exactly.
To allow convenience pricing being added right into the software.
And then he'll get irritated enough if they do not do that. He'll find a new POS company.
Exactly, because of what it's costing him right now.
Yeah, and then he's going to talk to the POS company and say, you want this deal at all 30 of these franchises? You're paying for the equipment and my guy will take care of credit cards.
Right.
So there's all kinds of negotiations that have to happen.
All right. So we've talked about the the neat thing that you can do on the POS, the cash discount, you'll offer both. So they'll see the regular standard processing and the convenience charge processing. What do we want to stick with calling it? Dual pricing?
MasterCard and Visa, Discover, and Amex always come out every couple months with what they want it to be called. Dual pricing is the new easiest way to do it, because Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and Amex get irritated when merchants don't give their card holders, which they own that side of the deal too. They own all the processing and they own all the plastic in everybody's wallet. They want you to give that card holder an option. And they're hoping like crazy it's credit card.
Yeah.
Because they want the revenue off of that. But
okay, so dual pricing. So we're gonna
by that they want to make sure they do it.
For the remainder of this call, we'll just call it dual pricing then, and then we'll try to adopt that if that's what they want it to be called. There was a time when it was cash discount, but maybe that was 4 years ago or so.
Convenience fee is still okay, but convenience fee meaning I'm going to give you the convenience of using your credit card. If you don't, pay me cash.
Yeah, you can still pay me $100 only. You just got to be cash or a check. Otherwise, it's 104 if it's a credit card. Yeah. Right. Okay, so now we've talked about that. We talked about the equipment side. You're going to present both offers to them. You've done quotes before and they don't take it, right? You're willing to do a quote for someone even if they don't sign up. It's not like they're going to charge. We're going to be charged a fee, or they're going to charge a fee. But we're really we're like a boat without a rudder if we don't have all the statements. There's not a whole lot you can do. So you can reach out to the client. So what we've got built, team, is we've got status updates that are going to be coming out to you now, where you're going to be copied on all the communication going out to the customer. And because we want you to know, hey, we're reaching out, we're not making progress, so that you can go shake that tree a little bit. You're the one who's going to earn. By the way, you all earn more than Hugh earns on these. So just like in our funding, when it comes down to it, our agents are earning more than the Bank Breezy funding team who's working with the client. You guys are going to earn more. So if we ask you to go get a driver's license, or, hey, shake the tree to get the statements, you're earning more than a lot more than I'm earning, a lot more than the company's earning. We're giving most of it to you, especially if you're at our high commission level. So please, if you see status updates not moving along, I don't want Hugh to have to call him 10 times, 5 times, email him over and over. That's a disservice to this pro, right? So if you get status updates, we're asking you guys to jump on board, to ping a call out and just say, hey, can you do me the courtesy? I got my team who's trying to get a hold of you. I just want to be able to report back to them what's going on. Can you get me a statement? Can you get it uploaded to them? Can you answer their email, please? Answer their call, please? Just this common sense, right? So let's do that. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is, what is the best way to approach someone you know and then approach someone you don't know?
I would say the warm market is pretty simple to do, whether it be a relative or a friend or an acquaintance or a place that you go to all the time. You know, I use that line all the time. Does it make sense for me to take a look at your credit card processing to see if I can save you some money? And 99% of the warm market will say, yes, what do you need? Give me the 3 statements. The cold market is somebody you have never seen or you never talked to, and you catch them when you're walking into a store, or you're online, or you're buying something or whatever. When you're doing an order, you're talking to customer service. I've gained a lot of accounts when you're talking to somebody and you're buying a golf club, or you're buying a hockey stick, or you're buying a window, or you're doing whatever. You know, hey, who handles your merchant processing? Oh, I'm an order taker. I don't know, but who would I talk to? Who would be the person in your accounting group that I would talk to? I know it's either going to be the CFO or the controller. And don't be intimidated by those titles, because those people, they know what's going on. But if you ask them, my most effective way of getting through to cold market is, does it make sense for me to take a look at your stuff and see if I can help you?
So for us, our guys would say, does it make sense for our pro or for our team to look at it?
Yeah, team is good.
Or should it be, does it make sense that because they may not be able to handle most of the questions that come back after that.
Right. Or, hey, does it make sense for me to put you in touch with a guy that's been doing this for 21 years?
There you go.
And when they get a hold of me or I get a hold of them, you know, I was telling David the other day that, and I don't know if it was David, I might have been talking to a new rep that I'm hiring. I've closed more deals in hockey rinks, restaurants, golf courses, on planes or whatever. And they go, what do you do? And I go, I do credit card processing. That when you say the word merchant processing, all business owners understand that, but a guy that might be brand new in business might not understand that. So I say, I do merchant credit card processing. And they go, oh, you can get me a credit card? I go, no, that's the plastic side of the house. You can go online and buy that stuff anywhere you want. But what I say to them, and you guys should write this down if you can or remember it, you need two numbers in order to know if you can help anybody.
Yes.
You say to them, first off, what's your volume of sales that go through credit cards at your business a month? Doesn't have to be exact, just ballpark it for me. And they go, $300,000. And I go, this next question I'm going to ask you, I know you know it to the penny. When you look at your bank statement, your business bank statement, how much did the bank take out of your account for that processing? $4,115.07. Okay. So you know that for sure. You know what they're taking every single month. Well, I know right then, I always multiply it by 10. I got to save you 40 grand right now. And they go, oh, you aren't even looking at it. I go, I've looked at 100,000 statements in 20 years. I know when I look at your statement that if you take that smaller number, divide it by the bigger number, you're going to come up with an effective rate. Regardless if it's retail, phone orders, or internet, anything higher than 2.5%, we can save them all kinds of money. So, you know, you get a guy out there that's doing whatever, you know, and I'll do it right on my cell phone with them. I go, how much did they take out of your account? $800, and you do 100 grand. All right. Well, you're at
8%.
Yeah, you're at 8%. That is insane. We need to fix that right away. And they go, well, how do you know that? I looked at a million of these things, but then they look at you and go, I can make it go away altogether, or I can knock it down to where it's acceptable to you. And they'll go, no, you know what? I'm loyal to that guy. I go, well, why? Does he spoil you with all kinds of gifts and all kinds of trips and everything? He should at 8%. He's making a killing. He's making 8 G's on you a month. You know, you're getting spanked. So, and I do it in a polite way but in the cold market, you go take the lower number, what they take out of your account, divided by your volume, and you're going to come up with a 2.5, 2.7, 3.5. I did one the other day, 8.6%. I said, when was the last time you saw your Hugh?
Yeah.
What do you mean your Hugh? I go, when was the last time you saw your rep or talked to him on the phone? They go, 12 years ago when I signed my account. I go, this guy's watching $1.2 million of your money a year, and he calls you once in 10 years. That ain't right. We need to fix that. I'll call you every 5 months, every 3 months, whatever you want me to call you every month. I'll call you every month and say, how's it going? What's new? I can't tell you how many accounts I've lit up from that conversation, because they'll go, oh, we started another vein of our business, and our website guy's working on it right now. Okay, I can hook you up with that. And they go, all right, cool, get a hold of him and get that document to me as the owner, and we'll sign it up.
Right on.
So
okay,
all
so
kinds of
you said a couple of neat things there I want to clarify. When you first said the lower fee, you said I multiply that lower fee by 10, and that's what I think I can save them. You're talking about because of the duplicate pricing convenience
dual
fee.
pricing. Yeah.
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 So
I don't want to confuse my brain at 12 times. So
yeah,
I
exactly.
just always say, whatever your monthly bill is, you multiply that times 10 and add 2 more of them. So you're at 40 grand a year, and you add 8,000, you're at $48,000 a year.
Yeah.
And some of them, and one of the things that happens with those people when they do it, you will see that the volume that you see on their statements will generally fall by about 25%, because there will be 25% of their clientele that say, I'm not paying you 4%. I'll send you a check, I'll wire you the money.
Cash. Yeah, but they still,
and you're probably loving that. You know, you as a business owner, you're loving that. You're getting cash and checks. I don't want to do
chargeback risk. Yeah.
All right. You don't want to do checks, set up an ACH account with me and you can take them ACH.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And we do that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll
Yep.
set them up with an ACH account if they want to receive through ACH. And that's big on checking. I mean, that's big on online too.
Yeah, we give
You know.
them usually online. What we'll do is we'll give them a payment page and say credit 4%, cash 0.
And cash is the ACH.
ACH. I'm sorry. ACH.
The routing number and account number in, and they're paying same as cash.
Exit.
Business owners loving it. The money's transferred right in their account. They don't have to worry about waiting until tomorrow or the next day and clawbacks and everything else. Okay, so a pro tip then is whatever they say their monthly fee is, add a 0 to it or multiply by 10. Either way you want to do it in your head. And that's about what we can save you per year. Would you like us to, does it make sense for us to give you a formal quote on that? You know, I'll give you my link, fill out some forms and let our team get on top of this for you.
And it's free to look.
Yeah, it's free to look. No
If you're worried about sensitive information on the statements you're sending me, black out everything except for the processing stuff.
Yeah, and
I'll know where it's
I'm
coming.
not going to see it. I love telling people when they apply for our funding or payment processing, I won't even see I'm not going to see anything. You upload it. Our underwriters see it, but I won't see that. I don't need to see any of that. So you can tell customers that too, guys. But that's good to know that if they're saying that, you're okay with them blacking out the processor. Okay. They got to have their company name on it. They got to have their company name and all that, obviously, because you got to verify it's them. Okay. So I'm going to go to startups in a minute, but I love that we've got this in recording so people can go back and look at what you said. How do startups work when we don't have processing, and what do we need from a startup?
Generally, what the banks want to know, number one, because of all of the laws that they have to follow, and one of these groups is called FinCEN. It's a financial crimes network that since 9/11, they need to make sure that nobody's hiding behind an LLC or some kind of junk that they're doing illegally to do whatever they're doing. So that when we get all these documents, they're gonna make sure that the people that are behind the business are behind the business, and they're gonna do a soft credit pull for a brand new person, and they may request your personal bank statement, your business bank statement, your driver's license, your passport, anything like that to verify that you are who you are. Some people will go bananas about that. And I always say to them, look, I'm not the underwriter, but I don't have to follow their rules. I have to follow the laws of the United States. And they aren't allowed to open up a bank account for you at the corner without checking it, FinCEN, and checking the credit and making sure. They do care what your credit is, because what a merchant account really is a form of a loan.
Daily loan.
We're fronting you your money based on all that plastic that showed up. So if you're doing $600,000 a month, or you're doing $1 million a month, we're extending, $12 million. And we have to be sure that when you get all those proceeds off all that plastic, that you're not getting on a jet and taking off. I've been in the game 21 years. I've only seen it happen once.
Right.
And they caught it really quickly, because the technology that's behind all this magic, they can see trends, and they've got, what do they call that?
Algorithms.
They got algorithms to where you hit one level that looks odd to them, I'm getting a phone call. Call this guy and ask him what's going on. And I call him and I go, what'd you do? Because they found it. And they go, how'd they know that? And I go, well, you're a car dealership, and somebody sold a trip to Paris on your account. And how'd they know that? Well, they called the customer that charged it. Said, hey, you were just working with DAC. They're a funding company, aren't they? Yeah. Well, what'd you buy from them? I bought 25 golf clubs from David.
Yeah.
Nope. That lasts 1 hour. See ya. Shut it off.
Yep.
You just got to be careful with who you're dealing with.
Okay. So, and startups aren't just, I should have said people not processing yet, more than startup, because it's probably different a little bit, but you always need the personal bank statements if someone's not, either way. Okay. Time for sign up. If you've got everything you need and they fill out, and they're going to have to fill out a paper application, folks. It's not just the online form that they fill out. They are going to be sent a paper application to complete and send back. And Hugh, you were saying that's the number one fall right now is where the trip is people are not doing that. That's
Well, what I do through your system or mine is I'll send out a blank application to them and I'll say, here's what I need. I need you, if you tell me which way you want to go, we forward out that application that applies to regular processing or the dual pricing, fill it all out. And basically it's all your personal information, your bank information, your tax ID, social security number, birthday, home address, all that stuff is going to be on that front page. Once I get that back, I'm going to put that into an Adobe sign or a whatever electronic sign. DocuSign, you do whichever one. I use Adobe because it works real easy. I just fill it out and then hit say put a signature there, 3 initials, sign 3 times on the back page, and we're done. Then I need a voided check to show them that you own the bank account that the money's going to flow into. And then I submit it to underwriting. Underwriting on a startup might come back and say, hey, when we did the soft credit poll on Bob Smith, we found some criminal activity that he was involved with. Call him and ask him about this. So then I'll call them back. You guys don't have to do that. I'll say, hey, listen, they did a soft credit poll, they did a check on you, and they're saying that this happens. 9 times out of 10, the customer's got a great explanation. I send it back to underwriting and say, hey, this is what happened. The kid got in a fight in a bar when he was in college, and he got thrown in jail for 2 weeks. You know, they go, oh, okay, how old is dude now? Oh, he's 55. He was 20 when he did that. They say, okay, we're over that. But if it's bad, they'll investigate and they'll keep going. And then they'll just tell me it's over at that place. No more. And 9 times out of 10, when they find it, they're finding it legitimately.
Yeah.
And people, you know, it doesn't happen very often, but some people are, you know, they've been involved in other stuff.
Let me share this as a testimony, guys. I applied for payment processing with a company that specializes in MLM companies. I was declined because our product was DAC Protect. As you all know, we don't charge anything except customers on our DAC Protect product, our LifeLock competitor, if you will. Well, it's online, it's through network marketing, and it's a LifeLock digital product. There's no physical product. Those are all high risk. So I was declined from 2 banks, and it had nothing to do with my credit. It had to do with the industry. Sphere couldn't do it. Industry. I said to Hugh, I looked at Hugh and these other guys at the same time. And Hugh, didn't you have to go to like 4 processors?
Yep.
Yeah. So he had to work through like 4 processors to find one who would take our business, and we're processing next to nothing, right? It's very low risk. But once you give someone that, you're opening up, like you said, it's a loan instrument. It's a daily loan where if I run a bunch of credit cards through fraudulently, they're giving me the money tomorrow and I'm hitting the road. So it's high risk. But the point about the testimony for this is even when you got good credit, your industry may put you in a position where you got to go to a unique provider in a unique way, a cannabis company or a CBD company, or heck, Hugh, you were telling me about one of your clients who's in a prison and they're doing prison credit cards and for calling cards and such. And but yet you find processors for them. So that doesn't mean everyone's going to get approved, guys, but what industries would you say, Hugh? I'm going to ask, who should we talk to and what industries should we stay away from?
I would say don't shy away from anybody, but if my guy who trained me in the industry, he said, if you were sending your son or your daughter or your wife or your husband to one of these businesses, would you be concerned for whatever they're going there to do? So if you get a call from a limousine guy that says, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm going to run an escort service through a limousine business. And can you get me an account? And I go, there ain't a chance in the world. I can get you a limousine account. I can get you an escort account, but I can't marry the two. I can't have those operating out of the same house, and they will pay heavily to do that. Marijuana, same thing. They can get, and you'll call on marijuana dispensaries that'll go, there's no way you can get credit cards done. Have them call me and I will show them 500 different companies in the United States that are doing it today, and they aren't in any danger. It's not true credit card processing. We're using a Venmo-like system to load a wallet, move that money from the wallet of the customer to the wallet of the dispensary, and it's through a totally compliant thing, and it's a monster bank that's backing us, and they know exactly what's going on.
Right.
So the high risk stuff, if you would get in trouble going to any of these high risk businesses, generally they'll get done. We'll get them done, but they're going to pay, and they know it. You know, I've got guys that call me with you know, selling kratom, and we get them done, but they are going to be scrutinized like you wouldn't believe. It's like buying 5 houses at once. You're gonna be documented to death, but you'll get an account. But if you drop the ball at any time, the bank's just gonna say, all right, we gave them a week, they didn't respond, they're done. You know, the timeliness of documents needed or signage that we needed or whatever, you know, that you've got to come up with that or they're going to get denied.
Yeah. And then best clients to go after. If you found us, like in our funding, we love construction companies. They get high approvals. They've got good use for the funds. So they make a lot of money with the 100 grand we give them, and they're coming back for renewals over and over. Do you have an industry that you go, this is the bread and butter. This is where you want to focus on?
I would say in my own experience, because I came up in the traditional credit card processing world, going up and down Main Street is a long battle, because there's been 40 of you walk up and down that street that week. They hire people for, you know, they'll pay college kids $100 for every stack of 3 statements they get. So these kids will go running around, get all dressed up, all fancy, drive nice cars, rent nice cars, drive up and say, hey, listen, my boss has given me $100 to get 3 statements from you. How about I give you $50? You give me the 3 statements and I go turn these in. You don't have to do anything with them. But because of that, the rates get knocked down and knocked down and knocked down. It's a race to the bottom. So what I do, even now with cash discount, I want to talk to the industrial guy that is in the back of some industrial park that nobody's walking in there. And I'm not walking in there either. I'm calling the secretary and saying, hey, I know you guys don't generally talk to salespeople that walk through your door, but just out of curiosity, I know, you know, and you got to kiss a little tail when you're talking to the secretary to get past her and say, I know you're really the person in charge, because you're watching the phones and nobody's getting to talk to Bob unless you say so. So I want to make you look like a hero. So if you could ask him, if it makes sense for this dude you don't know to take a look at it, and they'll go, well, you know, we do $25 million a year selling crankshafts. I go, how you taking payment? Credit cards. All right. And I go, so you're doing $2 million a month? And they go, yeah. I go, what are you paying? I have no idea. I just know I'm getting my check every month. And I go, okay, how about your boss? Well, that dude's rich as you can possibly be. He's making cash hand over fist. And that system that was set up years ago to take the credit card payments is fine, because everybody's still getting paid. And I said, you probably, from the time you signed up to where you are now, you probably have seen your stuff increase by 1.5%. I will bet, I'll take you to lunch anywhere you want to go in the state of Michigan. And I'm talking anywhere. If you get me those statements, and I can't beat it. And they'll go, wow, okay, let me see it. And I go, then they'll go, well, how about I do this? How about I look at the statements and tell you what the percentage is? I said, please, you got time right now, or you want me to call you back in a couple of days? They go, call me back. And I go, get me 2 numbers. I don't even need to see the paper. What'd you pay and what'd you process? Then I'll tell you what you're paying, and it'll equal within 10 basis points. And every single one of them, they call me back and they go, man, you were spot on. You didn't even look at our stuff yet. Well, if we're going cash discount, that number, like David said,
at a 0
from a rep standpoint, multiply that times 10. That's what you're making. But multiply that times 10 or 12, and that's what I can save you. Now, how specialized are you in what you sell? Well, our crankshafts only work in this kind of boat and this kind of truck. So you got a captive audience, right? Yeah, and we're killing it. Well, they're not leaving you when you charge them 4% on $100,000 part. They're going to pay the $4,000 because they need the part. And you just tell them, I can raise my prices, or I can show you that I'm charging you on the credit card.
Or again, pay me ACH.
Write
me a check. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a guy that does he does 600 grand a month, and he does bulletproof glass for banks, dispensaries, schools, party stores. His average ticket's $30,000. And not one person has screamed about it. A lot of them have opted, I'll pay you ACH. But it's when you look at this from our standpoint, all of us, if I'm doing 600,000 all on the cash discount, dual pricing, convenience fee model, and that volume gets chopped in half, you're still making, if it's $300,000,
still making 7 times.
Yeah, you're at
7 times.
Yeah, so you're chopping, your volume gets chopped, but you're still you're making 7 times more. So getting to a giant number in credit card processing, this might be the very best time in the United States ever to do it.
Yeah, this is a wave. This is a monsoon because everyone's moving to the convenience fee. So what percentage of the businesses do you think already have it?
Maybe 3 to 5% in the country.
And you think 5 years from now, 80% will?
Prior to COVID, this really didn't exist.
Right.
So prior to that, I personally would tell you you're an idiot if you do that. Prior to then. But then everybody got beat up. COVID, all the businesses were shut down. Everybody got banged up. And they said, I am looking to save $100 a month. And I don't care how you do it. And I go, well, your bill is $1,200 a month. I can save you $1,200 times 12. You want the 44,000, or should I give it to somebody else? You're giving it to the bank. Make your clientele pay for that. And that understanding of, hey, Bob, why are you charging me 4%? I got my ass handed to me in COVID. I almost went out. So I've got to recoup those charges. In Denver, Colorado, where my son lives, they have a 4% credit card charge. They have a 4% COVID recovery charge. First time I've ever seen that. And I said, are all the restaurants in the little Denver area doing that? And they go, they're in one that's not.
Yeah.
Said, well, where am I going to eat? I'm out of town. I'm coming in here to eat. Okay, well, you're paying $8.
Yeah. You can pay cash if you want.
Yep.
You're choosing to use the credit card, which the business owner doesn't get 100%. So, you should pay a convenience fee. And we're out for the business owner too. Yeah. If I just use a credit card, charge me the 4 points. I get it. Okay. So, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go to some questions? Other questions?
I'm good. I don't want to complicate the industry. The 2 key things. Find out the two numbers that you have to get. What they charge you, what'd you do in volume? Find that out, and then say, I always use the word report card rather than statement. I said, I need your report card to show it to the principal at the underwriting office. When that principal looks at your report card, you're either A+ student or you're flunking. If you're anywhere beyond an A, I'm probably still going to tell you, and I can tell you this, I can't even calculate how many statements I've looked at in my time. I've only seen one that I couldn't beat. And that was Little Caesars Pizza. That's on traditional side.
Right.
And I sat with the owner of Little Caesars Pizza, Mike Illich, and he said, Hugh, I will give you this account. And I was taking it from 6 basis points over our cost down to 3 basis points. And he said, Hugh, you're going to probably make $95,000 a month on all these accounts. I think there's 80,000 franchises, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. And he said, you're going to make whatever it is, $10 or $15 on every one of these accounts. You're going to have to hire a full-time staff that's probably going to cost you $200,000 a month to take care of all these crazy franchise holders. Don't do the deal. And I said, you're the owner and you're dealing with all the franchisees. That's how you built your billion business. And he said, don't touch it. Go talk to the $100,000 restaurant and get his deal. You'll do way better. That was the only one that I ever didn't get that I really wanted. Now, doing cash discount for 80,000 locations of Little Caesars.
That'd be worth the hassle.
Oh my God. And I mean, because I would bet that what I know about pizza places, I mean, you're talking, I mean, just to blow you away with some crazy numbers, 80,000 times, they're probably all doing 100 grand a month for sure. That is $8 trillion in processing. And let's just say we made 0.50%. That's 40 million monthly. If you get that deal.
Yeah.
I hope I got that right. 80,000.
Well, even if you take a zero off and say it's 4 million monthly,
Yeah,
50 million a year, it's still
80,000 places times $100,000 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's trillion. $8 trillion. And you'll go, and I mean, I wish I knew the people at major franchises that I could go into. And then Mike Kern with Wade.
Yeah.
He was the former CFO of Church's Fried Chicken, I think.
Churches or Arthur Creature, whatever. One of
It was
them.
a seafood place.
Seafood,
But he
yeah.
knows all these people in the industry, and he's one of the reps.
Yeah.
So he
He's
goes
now
out
rep with DAC. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll go right through us.
He wants to, he's kind of in test mode and then he's in share mode, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So let's go to some questions then. I love the report card. By the way, you said report card, and I just wanted to bring this up. You know, when we look at bank statements before we send them to our underwriters, we're looking for number of bounce checks, average daily balance, days in the -0. And if you got 5 days below 0, you're not getting approved. We don't even send the application. What are you looking at on those bank statements when you call it a report card? Are you looking at chargeback percentages? Are you looking at, are there things you're looking at that cause credit concerns?
Yep, we look at, you know, stability. That's why you need 3 months, because whatever you did in January is probably showing up in March. You know, and then sometimes the underwriter will say, for this level of account, I need to see the last 12.
Okay.
So then you tell them, go get the last 12, send those over to me, because they're very interested, but they just want to see how month 1 went through month 12, because all of the chargebacks and all of the lost sales and all of the bad stuff that happened will be shown across that time length. And 3 months usually does it. You know, that's the
Standard.
the standard. And then obviously there's one section on every merchant statement that says chargebacks. You know, because chargebacks, just so all of you know this, anything north of 1% of your volume in chargebacks, you won't get approved. You have to have that under control. So 100,000, if you're doing 1,000 a month in chargebacks, they won't write the deal.
And chargebacks, guys, for everyone knowing, maybe you can clear this up here. It's not people returning. Can you define what a chargeback is?
Yeah, chargeback is I buy a golf club from Dick's Sporting Goods, and when that bill shows up at my house, I call my credit card company, the plastic company that I got it from, Capital One, What's in Your Wallet, all those guys, and you say, I wasn't there, that wasn't me. And they'll say, and you know it, all of you know it, because you have had this happen to you, and they automatically say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, we're going to refund you your money right away, we'll investigate it, thank you very much, goodbye. That starts the chargeback process, because now they're going to call Dick's and say, was Hugh there? They said, well, he inserted his card, so he had to be there, and there was no fraudulent whatever done. It was him. And they say, well, were you there? Well, we know you were there because it was your card, you chipped it, and that little emblem on there, that little square that's on everybody's credit card, that has all your data on it. So when you're doing that, they're saying you were there. And now you say, no, I wasn't. Somebody must have had my credit card. Okay. Then they'll look up your history on chargebacks to them, and they'll say, you know what, this doesn't look right. We're going to side with the merchant, maybe 20% of the time. But the credit card issuing companies want you to keep using their credit card. So they're going to side with you more than they're going to side with merchants. So you got to make sure. So what we always tell people, and this is getting a little bit deeper into the weeds, but I always tell merchants, if you have a customer that calls you and says, I'm irritated about my $50 purchase, don't fight them. Can you come in, or I'll just refund you your money, because that isn't worth losing your merchant account.
Yeah.
And like right now, all the crazy theft and everything, where you're seeing all these Target stores shutting down because of robbing and credit card fraud and all the kind of stuff that they're doing. You know, they're going to the corner gas station to stick a fake reader into an ATM. You're sticking your money, you're sticking your card in there. They're reading that card. It's a little reader that's this big.
Yeah. Little piece of plastic.
Read it, and there's websites out there. You got to drive you crazy with all these crazy stories, but there's websites out there that any one of us can go out there on the black market and buy 100 fake credit card numbers with expiration date, with names, with CVV2 codes, the 3-digit code on the back. Buy anything we want. We'd probably buy 100 of them for $50.
Yeah,
and they're out there. So the banks have processes in there to protect against that, and they'll shut the account down so it can't process until they find out. But you just want to stay.
So if you've got 1% of your customers saying, 1% of your processing saying, I didn't authorize that, then you've got an issue at your register taking fraudulent accounts, and they can't keep refunding the money and yet getting the money. So they take it back from the merchant, but they also gives you a little mark. I know Sharon's on right now from Member Escape. You told us that too.
Hi, Sharon.
If we got a call from anybody who said, I didn't order that, it must have been my spouse, I don't know, we'd say, no problem, we'll credit the account immediately. We never wanted the charge back, even if we lost $100 or $50. But okay, good. So let's go to some questions. Morgan, have you got some questions from the chat? Have you been organizing that you can ask for Hugh?
I do. I have a question about the setup for customers. So let's say that they go ahead with the payment processing. What does that setup process look like?
Generally, if I get an application on Monday, I'm submitting that day. It'll be approved by Wednesday or Thursday. If they're in a retail situation, I will talk to the merchant when they're approved, and I'll order them a terminal. If they just want a terminal, we'll have it shipped from the warehouse of the provider of terminals. It'll be drop shipped to them, all programmed. All they got to do is plug it in to make it happen retail wise. On they call it MOTO, M-O-T-O, mail order, telephone order. Those, we're just creating a payment gateway. And for you guys, a hardware terminal like that is a terminal. A gateway is a virtual terminal.
Software.
So when you go online to buy something, you're using a gateway, a payment gateway that moves that payment from that business through that gateway, like it goes through the terminal to the bank over the Ethernet lines, and it gets taken care of. If it's internet-based website, I'm putting together a sheet that I get from my bank that approves the account. I'm forwarding that sheet to the processor or the tech person at their place, and they take that information that's on that sheet and they enter in all this information and they plug it in and they turn it on and it's processing.
Yeah, like with ours, guys, for the DAC account, we're doing MOTO. So he sent us the sheet. We sent it over to our back office programmers, and it took them about 10 minutes and it was live.
Yep.
So very good. Okay.
Awesome. I've only got one more question as of now. Do you have any preferred industries or industries that you see a lot that agents should target specifically?
I really wouldn't. I always say to my new people that I hire and bring on, if you're familiar with hockey, call on hockey stores. You're familiar with golf, call on golf stores. You're familiar with fishing, call on the fishing store. You like florists, go and talk florists. You want to go to a landscape place and you love decorating your yard, be familiar with what you're going to ask them. and tell stories and say, hey, when I bought my last thing, I went to this landscape place over here, and I think they overcharged me, but that's why I came to you. I got a referral to come in there, and make it a story about you to get the people saying, man, this guy's a decent dude. Let me see what he does. And then some of the times I go, well, what do you do? Are you a landscaper? No, I'm a rep, and I do credit card processing. I do loans. I do all that stuff. And if it makes sense to you, I can take a look at yours.
Yeah. So, well, obviously, as we were talking yesterday, and we haven't said it here much. You did mention it once. Hugh's belief is every warm market and canvassing as a customer, where you're shopping, and of course, warm market. Everyone's got a warm market, and then relating with the industries you're talking to, like you just. So it's just like our funding guys. Same thing. Do you see an industry that's a little more prevalent to moving to cash discount? Restaurants or
I would say Main Street USA, any business in Main Street is very, very open to doing that. Because I've got plenty of people right now that I've got on a list that they said, when that dude across the street does it, I'll do it. So my job is to go across the street and say, what do you think about doing this? And they go, well, when she does it, I'll do it. I go, well, why don't I get both of you on the same page? You do it and she does it the same day, and we'll hook you both up so that on Friday next week, you light it up, you'll both be doing the 4% deal. And some guys will go with that, but because a lot of people in like downtown Milford where we live, everybody on that street knows everybody on that street.
Yeah.
And when I tell them, hey, Bob over here is doing it already, and this guy's going to be doing it, they'll call that guy and say, did you talk to Hugh? Yeah, he said he's going to be doing it. Some people are 1,000% against it. And I'll say, then I'll hook you up with traditional. And you can talk to this guy at this bar owner. I've been doing his account for 10 years.
Right on.
So the referrals off of those, go where you're familiar with first. And online, it's real easy that if if I Googled right now, golf stores in the US, it's probably 5 million. I just need a couple.
Yeah.
So I'll call them up and say, hey man, I see you got this on your thing. Then I go, hey, just so you know, I'm in the credit card processing game. And I was wondering if I might be able to talk to people that handle that with you. And they'll go, well, that's going to be the CFO, and they'll give you some lame email to send it to. And I go, I know that's going in the junk drawer. Can you give me the person's name? And if I get that account, I will be sure to mention that you were the person that made that connection for them. So that you look like.
Okay, I've got some questions that they were sent to me directly.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through these. Number one, if an owner has filed bankruptcy, is there a chance that we can help them or no?
Yes.
Okay. Can we beat out Square?
Here's the deal with Square. Square is what we call not what we call it. It is called an aggregator. Everybody that has a Square account, and if I could reach over here and bang my head against these cabinets, I would, because I should have thought of that.
Yeah.
Because Square became a company by a guy that sold to small coffee shops. He was selling them their cups and their napkins and their stirrers and all that. And everyone he went into, he goes, don't you know anybody, what's his name, who owns it? Dorsey. Dorsey was going into these places and saying, man, everybody's screaming about merchant processing and they can't get an account that's fair. So he went to a large bank and said, I need a merchant account that I can promote to everybody, but everybody lives on that merchant account. So everybody that has Square does not own their merchant account. It's very dangerous. And the reason it's dangerous is if one limousine guy out of 100,000 limousine companies does something nefarious and stupid, Square, they get called by their bank that backs them. And it might be Wells Fargo. I know it's one of the giants, Chase, Wells, Bank of America, or somebody, one of the big ones. When they see that that's starting to look bad, they'll shut down all limousine companies and they'll hold your money. You have no recourse to get it back. They can hold it for 12 months. When you have that happen with us, I can defend you and say, hey, that wasn't the intention. The person that you called and asked about that transaction, it wasn't accurate. And we prove it and show them all the stats and everything like that. But Square's rates are somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5% on the traditional side. They do not do convenience fee pricing. They tell you that you can do it using a Square account, but what they do is if it's $100 charge, you say on your website 4% convenience fee, they'll allow you to do that, but then Square is charging you on the 104. So they're not separating the 100 and sending it to your bank account and taking the 4 to pay the bill. They're putting those two together and then hitting it with their pricing. And you, as the store owner or website owner, has to hold that $4 in which you collected in a separate bucket to pay the bill at the end of the month.
Still have the bill at the end of the month,
We
basically.
do all that for you. It's a headache. So
Yeah, you still have the bill.
yeah, Square, PayPal, Stripe. There's 10 of them out there that have the same model, because when they saw Dorsey do that with Stripe or Square, they all jumped on the bandwagon and they do that. And we have the same ability to, let's say a person only does $5,000 a year, but they're selling a widget at the county fair. I can get them a little credit card reader that goes right on their phone for $100, and they can swipe, tap, do whatever, chip it, and we can run transaction just like Square. But when you're talking to us, it's minimum $20 a month to have an account. So if they don't touch it for 11 months, they're paying us $20 a month. Generally irritates them, and the accounts that you want to go after are somewhere north of $5,000 a month. If they already have Square or whatever, you'll beat them. I'll beat them every single time.
And tell me if this is accurate. What I've told people before, which is an answer I've been given, tell me if this is still accurate. If they're doing under 5,000, we're probably not going to beat them on Square because of the monthly fee.
Right.
In their best interest, they should stay where they are unless they want to move over to the cash discounting.
Correct.
And if they're more north of 5,000, then it's worth giving us a chance to give it a look.
Yep.
But if they want to go to cash discounting, let's look at them now. And if they don't want to, they need to be north of 5,000. Is that still accurate?
Yeah, I would maybe even pump that up to 10.
10,000 north of 10.
10,000, because when it makes sense, because if you're doing $10,000 and let's say we're making 1.5% on the account, we're making $150 a month on a real tiny account, and free is free.
Yeah,
they aren't going anywhere. So if you get, my original trainer in my business said, I don't care if you get me 1,000 accounts making 150 a month, or one account making me $150,000 a month. Doesn't matter to me. Yeah. I'm still cutting you that check for 150 G's a month.
Right on. Okay. So there's your answer, Karen, on that. Sorry, I got to go to my bifocals here. When Hugh says 100K customer, he means gross 100,000. Yeah, that's 100,000 in processing per month, not total sales, just total processing sales.
Right. They may be doing 500 grand total on invoices and everything, but 100 runs through the credit card.
Thinking about Ace Hardware franchise stores, are they required to use systems designated by Ace Hardware, or can they use their own independent payment processing?
Awesome question. Generally what happens, and I'm going to go back to my Little Caesars pizza, deal. If I would have taken that deal back then when I was talking to the owners, I would have been the exclusive provider, and they would have sent out a note and said, when you want credit card processing, when you hook up the Little Caesars franchise, you aren't using anybody else but him. That's what happens in Ace. And the reason for that would be, let's say that the commissions on whatever franchise is out there that you get, then if you get a monster like that, it is extremely difficult to get them. But if you get them because your neighbor is the guy, and he says, I'm in, I want you to do this for me. If you get that guy, he's probably already being paid by the hue in that situation, because they'll say, because when you get into those meetings, you're divulging everything, and you're telling, they'll say, well, what are you making a month on this deal? Well, I'm making $10,000. All right, well, we want 2,500 of the 10 if you want the account. Well, I have to pay a separate company because I can't pay you for your merchant account. It's illegal. It's laundering money. I can pay an agent of Ace Hardware or a consulting firm. I could pay DAC all day long if they're in charge of your Ace Hardware franchises, but I can't pay you, Bob, the owner. I'm not going to do it. But, and some of them will say, I don't care who's getting paid. You're moving all of my processing to dual pricing, and you can do that in the store, over the phone, and on my website. Yep. And you're going to save me, depending on how many franchises a individual owns, yeah, it could be enormous savings for you. And
independent stores a bunch of money.
Yeah. So then, and then those accounts, those things in the industry roll like wildfire, because the pizza guy is going to talk to the coffee shop, and the coffee shop's going to talk to the auto parts store, and the auto parts store is going to talk to, car dealerships.
Yep.
I mean, those are kind of crazy and more difficult to get to, but once everybody is doing this, the floodgates are it's going to go from 5% to 60 in a heartbeat. And then picture yourself trying to get somebody to come to you to switch from a free account to a free account.
Yeah. And when you say free, guys, you mean someone who's on the convenience charge because all their costs are being covered.
Right. They're not going anywhere.
You get them now, you're locking them in for a long term.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. As long as you take care of them, and Hugh's going to take care of them, and if you keep your end of the bargain of being, a good customer, good patron, they're going to stay with you permanently. Are we able to go after large companies?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The only thing that intimidates brand new reps in this industry is the number on that statement. They flip out when they see 5 million a month. All it is 3 more zeros. And the number on the right that they're taking out of their bank account might have 3 more zeros on it too. And when you're talking to the CFO or the CEO or the president or whoever at these places, those cats in the C-suite offices, anything that starts with a C in their title, those guys are all getting paid on what hits that bottom line.
Yeah.
So if we don't have to pay $1 million a month for credit card processing, that helps all of us C-suite guys for sure. And it helps all of our whatever. I mean, I've talked to, I haven't gotten them all the time, but I have talked to people that I've met through friends that they say, man, you really think you can save us that much money? I say, I save you 10 basis points. I'm saving you $30 million. Some of them are so low in their pricing that they're hooked up with a big bank who their inventory model is through. Car dealerships are notorious for this. They go, I can't go away from Bank of America because they supply my floor plan. They pay for all my vehicles. So they're all different and individual, but if you can get to the decision maker, they aren't going to say anything to me that I haven't heard in this industry. They may scare the hell out of you, but their C-suite and flying around on their jets and their cars and their yachts and everything like that, they want more of those things. And we can make it happen. And if you get a monster, it's just, generally it's shocking, but some of the time, some of the people that are in the high level spots, they push that off to the CF or the controller and the main accountant. And they're really not that concerned until you show them what the savings can be.
All right. You mentioned something about basis points. I just made this real quick. Just for everyone who doesn't know what a basis point is, 1% is here. It's broken down because we're talking about fractions of a percentage. You might save someone. You may only save, you mentioned 10 basis points or I'm going to upcharge it 10 basis points above. That's not even 1%. It's 0.1%. 10 basis points would be down here. So just if you ever hear Hugh mention basis points or the industry talk about basis points, that's because it's not even a full percentage. 75 basis points would be like 0.75%, right?
And
So is it all accurate?
Yeah, that is. And I'm being 1000% honest right here. I have tried to explain that to so many people. That piece of paper right there is gold, because you can tell people 1% is 100 basis points.
Yeah.
They go, huh? But if you show that, I'm copying that thing right now. That's what 1% is, and everything below it is less. And some people are 200 basis points above, so they're at 2%.
Right.
And some people that you talk to, the business owners go, what the hell's a basis point?
Yeah.
How long you been doing credit card processing? Well, I see all these crazy fees, and I go, there's 1,000 fees on a merchant statement that are total fluff, but I never inflate those. That's the easiest way for me to pick apart a merchant account and go, why are you getting charged $25 a month on this fee when the fee is only 3 cents a month?
Yeah.
And they go, how do you know that? And I go, because I've got a chart. I got it right here.
All the wholesale costs.
Yeah. I mean, this is my, and this will blow you away, but this is a little bit more advanced. You know what? I printed the new ones, but this is American Express. Their rates on all the different categories. So if you're a restaurant in this tier, if you're this in this tier, if you're this in this tier, there's probably 30 rates on that page for every different kind of processor.
That's the wholesale rate, right? That's the wholesale.
Yeah, this is our rate that I'm going to give to them. Yeah.
And then
so
you can bring that up.
Yeah, it's crazy. So when I ask merchants this all the time. I said, how many different kind of credit cards do you think can walk through your doors today? And they go, 4. And I go, 4. Why do you say that? They go, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and Amex. And I go, okay, inside of each one of those brands, how many different kind of credit cards that they promote on TV can walk through your door? They go, I have no idea. There's 1,500 of them. And every single one of them carries an individual rate and an individual transaction fee. That's called interchange. Interchange is now what we start at. So if you're paying interchange plus those 25 basis points that David's talking about, and we come in and say, I'll do it at interchange at 10 basis points, that just saved you 15 basis points. So on a $100,000 account times 0.15%, that's $150. Times 12, I can save you $1,800 right now. Just dropping it a little. But if you want to stick with that, that's cool. If you don't, we move you to the convenience fee model, cash discount, and do it properly. Because the main thing that the card brands want to be sure of is that you are doing it in a proper fashion on credit card sales that give that customer the option, one or the other. And if you don't do that and a secret shopper comes into that business and says, this guy charged me 4% to give me the option to pay cash. He just flat out charged me 4%. Visa gets calling that they're going to call us, and then we're going to call them and say, don't do that anymore. Your account will be shut down in 5 minutes.
Got some more questions for you. I know the answer to this because we've already talked about it. Does Hugh have backup help if we start putting in too many orders? He does. He's got other agents he's got trained, including some family members. We've not hit that level yet, guys. So we talked about if we blend it all through him rather than having some go to Sphere or some go to him, can he handle it? Can he, if our numbers pick up, right? So he's not concerned about that. I have contacts at major franchises, put me in contact with you. This is all you got to do. Email support and they'll connect you with you. And we'll make sure you can have a conversation with them. What if someone's already doing dual pricing? Can we help them in any way?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. There's a lot of, pardon my frankness, but there's a lot of scumbags in this industry that will go in, and let's say I'm calling it on David at his restaurant. And I say, you're already on the convenience fee model, the dual pricing, you're doing it properly, you're 100% above board, credit card sales, everything's going well. I know based on your volume what your average monthly fee should be. I know it should be 2.5. You're paying me, you're collecting from your merchants or your card holders 4%. So there's 1.5 in profit on your volume a month that comes to my bank, that they pay your bill, they're left with 1.5%. Okay. Some people will say to them, if you want this deal, you're giving me 50 basis points of that. You're giving me 0.5% every month. You're going to cut me a check. That's the only way that I've ever seen anybody, other than my guy doesn't give me the service that I need. They don't support me. They aren't taking care of me. That's really the only way. That's why it's urgent to get to these guys. You gotta get out there and do it. I mean, you can look on TikTok, you can look on YouTube, you can look on wherever. There are people with some very cool creative ads that I see them out there cutting old terminals in half with saws and say, cut your rates out completely, blah, 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 blah. They're doing whatever they can to
make some noise.
Yeah, whether it's Twitter or whether it's Facebook or wherever it is, they're going out there and doing that. I haven't done that because I've got enough referral business coming in. I don't have to call anybody. I get them I ask my customers every time I check in with them, hey, you know anybody on the block that needs my help? You know what? I had lunch with a lady the other day that does. And now after 21 years, they're just constantly rolling in.
Now, also guys, keep this in mind. That was a great question, Ellen. Those people can become agents of DAC. So if they're already, I talked to a Thai restaurant, and that's what I said to her. I said, I don't know what I can save you. I'm sure we can save you a little, but if you're already on cash discount, what I can tell is we could have you become an agent and you'd be getting an agent commission on this through DAC. So that is a way. She's considering it, but didn't work, but it could. All right. Okay. All industries, guys. There's no industry to stay away from. If it's a warm market, call them. If it's someone you are affiliated with, call them. If you talk to any business owners, tell them what you do. How does it work for coaches who send an invoice for payment? Do we do those? Do we have any point of sale or any invoice programs in these apps that can send an invoice for the client?
All of the gateways that you would do that on have an invoicing setup, but the easiest way and most convenient, he said he's a coach.
For coaching. So I'm guessing he's talking about personal coaching, not sports coaching, but who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
So if he's consulting and coaching and he's got to send out an invoice for $500, you send out the invoice that has a link to your gateway. You hit that link, it takes you to a separate page and says your bill's $500, automatically calculates the 4%, adds that in there, you hit your button, you're paid.
Okay. Do they have, there's a lot of these things out there like Clover and some of these, they're all pre-packaged already with apps. Do we have anything like that?
We can get stuff like that. I can get you Clover, but I'm not positive. I'd have to check into Clover if they're allowing dual pricing on their system. Clover's owned by Visa.
They do it the same way as Square.
Okay.
We've got Clover in our donut shop. We're doing cash discounting. They actually, let me take that back. They don't do it the same as Square because all the convenience charges are covered. All the credit card processing fees are covered at the end of the month. So
Oh, you're charging whatever percent you're charging, you're collecting and then paying your bill.
we're doing the 4, we're collecting it from the customer. We're not paying the bill. The bill's covered.
And they take care of it through Clover?
Yeah.
Okay, and here is and this might
Clover, you
sound,
can't leave equipment. You can't. We had to buy all new equipment to switch to our processor. All
Right.
new Clover equipment is kind of
yeah,
ridiculous.
that's one unique thing about Clover. If you have Clover and you want to switch Clover to us, you got to get rid of your old equipment and buy brand new stuff. That's Clover's way of doing it.
They don't let you move. Yeah.
They don't, you have to, when you move, you have to move all of it. You have to
Yep.
go get brand new stuff.
And there's no discount or any love for the one you have. You still got a few more minutes, buddy? I got a few more questions.
Sure.
Okay. Can county state offices be done like the DMV? And can medical facilities be helped?
They can, and they are very, very lucrative, but you have to go through I'm forgetting the name of the bidding process that you have to go through. I've done a thousand.
Proposal,
What it's called?
RFP,
Yep.
request for proposal. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go through an RFP and you have to find out when that is. But one good thing about that is when you're dealing with anything governmental, they always disclose what the current provider is providing. They have to. That's the rule. So then you're graded, and any RFP that I've ever been involved in, you're graded on 5 things: experience, equipment, customer service, knowledge of the business, and something else. And they grade them all. They weight them all differently, and your pricing is generally the number one thing that's either going to win it or lose it for you.
Okay. No, we're not still partnered with PaperTech folks, except our old clients that we already had on board. We don't submit any new business to them. What are Hugh's recommendations for the best POS systems that he recommends to client? Is it Hot Sauce, Clover, Lightspeed, etc., for the restaurant and bar industry?
There are a few, but they're all those ones that you just mentioned some of them are proprietary, meaning if you go with X brand, you have to use their processor.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to go out and buy a screen, cash drawer, scanner, terminal, and make it happen themselves, they can do that. But I've got companies that'll put it together all in one package and ship it to you ready to go.
Okay, and then they provide tech support as well. When they send it, they help you on board if you're having any issues. They're on standby.
Yeah, I get the heck out of the way when it gets to that stuff.
Yep. They don't put feet on the ground, right? It's just all telephone support for those things.
Yep.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll do big ones. Sometimes they'll send out a crew.
Send someone out, yeah, to help it. Yeah. Okay. I talked about the comp at the beginning. I'll talk about it again at the end. There's 2 things I want to share at the end. We need 3 months credit card statements, yes. 3 months bank statements, yes. If so, what are the bank statements used for? The personal bank statements or the business bank statements?
Personal bank statements generally come up on startups.
Yeah.
Because they have nothing else to grade you on. But if you've been in business and you're running ABC company, they can see that your monthly, I got one today through the group, that his monthly bank statement, I think, went down to, I don't know, maybe $150, but his business account statement was right around $2,000-3,000. So they want to see, this guy's asking us for $10,000 a month in credit card processing ability, but he's only got $3,000 in this account and $200 in that account. They're going to evaluate him based on that. So, when you're asking, it's not me, it's what they feel comfortable with reviewing. So they're going to look at your financial picture, whether it be personal or business, on a startup type deal. Generally, they never ask for those types of documents in a existing account. They'll ask for bank statements, business bank statements. But if you have supporting documents through a merchant statement, you won't generally get asked for personal. And if they're really large, like some of the franchise opportunities or the government or whatever, they're probably going to ask for the last 2 years financials or the last 2 years tax returns.
Perfect.
To show them this guy's got this much, and this is on existing big ones. And those people that deal with that, CFOs and controllers and stuff like that, they have no problem providing those.
And guys, keep this in mind a minute. Let's say you're a coach and you do a seminar and you charge everyone $300 for a seminar, and you tell everyone you have a money back guarantee and you charge them $300 on the credit card. They come in at the end of the weekend, a bunch of people are going, this is ridiculous. I didn't like that. It's not what they promised me. I'm going to get my money back. And you don't give it back. So then they charge it back. And all of a sudden, the bank is giving money back to customers, and they got to get that money back out of your bank account. And you don't have it there because you're not very strong financially. And you spent all that seminar money already. They're loaning you, they're advancing you money based on the quality of the customer care, based on a lot of things. So they got to be able to know that if someone returns the product, that you've got the money to give them back. And they got to know that if there's a clawback or a chargeback, you got the money to give it back. So there's a lot of risk, probably more risk in payment processing than in our funding, frankly.
Here's one little other part of that. Generally, every single merchant account statement or merchant account application that's going to be signed, they sign by themselves. They sign as the business owner, 25% or more, and all 25% owners will. Then they personally guarantee it. So if it's a brand new startup and you're PGing it, personal guaranteeing it, they want to know how much dough you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, they'll put a limit or a hold, right? Okay. There's not industries we can't sign up, except what Hugh said before, Harlequin, which is, of course, if you think you'd get in trouble or your family would go into that place, it's probably immoral or some sort of mixture in the business that they can't do.
Anything that and I mean, if you guys want to Google, to find the lists that are not allowed, just Google prohibited merchant categories and it'll bring up them all. But that doesn't mean we can't get them approved. They're prohibited because the banks don't want to deal with them. But if you bring them a strong enough business that, I looked into just a little while ago, which that road stopped really quick, like the online gambling and the casinos that are online. Those things are monsters, but they're dealing with monster banks.
Yeah.
They're dealing with reps like me.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would.
So we can get them, even if you have to move things overseas. You've talked about that. Even if you have to go to an international, whatever you got to do, if you can, you'll see if you can help them. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate that.
You don't want to mess with overseas stuff, by the way. I can find a connection, but the underwriting process for that is absolutely prohibitive, and that is very tough. They're aggregator accounts over there, so they're all going into one hopper or whatever, but they're not going to be 2 and 3%. They're going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15%. And I doubt, I haven't ever even looked into whether they would do dual pricing. I doubt it. And if you have a problem with something that's in a foreign country,
got it. All right. So if they agree to give us credit card statements, but not the bank statements, can we still offer them anything? You can't get them approved, right? If the bank, whatever's asked for by underwriting, they got to provide, or you're not getting them approved.
We can get anybody started in the process with just statements and a voided check.
Okay.
But as soon as it gets to underwriting and they start asking questions, I'm going to get a conditions list back, and I'm going to forward that to the customer and say, all of these need to be met. It's like on when you're buying a mortgage or when you're getting a loan. You gotta give us the documents in order to do what we need to do. And if you don't give it to us, they'll pend it, and they'll pend it for 2 years. They'll let it sit there. They don't care.
Yep. do our processing statements, I know we represent many processors, but do we have processors, and does your favored ones, do they link into QuickBooks for moving the expenses in for simplicity for the business owner?
I have a vendor that connects all that stuff, that he can make it happen, but QuickBooks has a proprietary, they own their own processor.
Yeah.
It's got Intuit. So they're very smart business. They hook you up to QuickBooks. They say, we want you to use Intuit, but if you don't want to use Intuit, there's patches and workarounds and everything, kind of headache. But there are vendors out there that I work with that I call them in special circumstances, give them the circumstance and say, what can you do? They put together the plan and we go back to the merchant with that and say, are you willing to do this to make it happen?
Yep.
So saying no to people that were hooked up with QuickBooks 5 years ago, you probably had to walk away. Now you don't.
And can processing statements be downloaded to a CSV file, or are they all?
I prefer all of them to be PDF.
I mean, once I'm processing, because QuickBooks has a standard upload of CSV files. So I was just wondering if they could download the statements to a CSV, you wouldn't even have to use a patch. I had to use a patch last year, so I know it's doable, but I was just wondering if our statements could be downloaded.
I don't know that I can ask that question. I don't know the answer to that one.
It's not super important, but that's because that's a quick workaround. If they can download a CSV, QuickBooks allows an upload of a CSV. You do that once a month. Okay.
You mean to take all of the processing and upload it to the, okay.
So all the expenses are logged in by day and.
Okay. Yeah. Because usually when you run into, because okay, now I know what you're talking about. When you are dealing with a POS company like QuickBooks, and a CRM or a ERM or whatever you want to call them, that is managing your business, but they do not allow outside credit card processors. We can have everything work over here on QuickBooks, but over here we're doing credit card processing outside of them. And either daily or weekly or monthly, you got to upload that data.
Yeah.
To make your QuickBooks work or that software work. Most of them are, most of the POS companies that some of them will tell you flat out ain't happening. Never going to happen. So in order for you to get them the proper pricing, because they've got their own proprietary processor like me, and they made that deal with them a long time ago. They say, you know, if we give you all these merchant deals, we need to be paid for you to be the proprietary guy. And it makes sense when you're the proprietary guy on some of those monsters.
And keep this in mind, guys, just in case you're concerned about this. I use QuickBooks and I get credit card processing, and every one of them goes into QuickBooks automatically, but not through my credit card processor. It's because everything you do in credit card processing is deposited where? In your bank. And QuickBooks patches in with every bank. So it doesn't have the detail. It'll just say, you know, credit card sales, $100. It doesn't show it's 5 transactions, but it still gets into QuickBooks. So if someone needs line item detail in QuickBooks, then that would be a little bit more. But as far as tracking it just for revenue and expenses, it's getting in just through the bank. Because that's where the credit card processor deposits your money, right in your bank account. Minimum processing revenue per month before you want to talk to someone.
You want to, I mean, my largest account that I have today is from the smallest account that I have today.
Yeah.
That was a referral. So I don't turn them down. I might tell, I mean, they might tell you no, or me no, once I get their statements and go, or no statements, and I go, how much you doing a month? I'm going to be doing about $250 a month. Probably not the right place for you to go. Go to Square until you build your business up and then call me.
Because they're going to pay $20 a month fee plus, okay. Procurement. That's all it says. Do we do funeral homes?
Yeah.
Yep. Who do we submit the RFPs to? Well, that would be the department.
If you're going to a police station local, you call that controller or mayor or city council person that handles that. And then you ask them, when will RFPs be accepted? They'll
Yep.
tell you it's coming up in January. You got to have everything to us by January 15th. You're 1 minute late, you lose.
And they're pretty detailed, but do you help with those or?
I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
You have to find, and it's expensive to put together an RFP. If you do it the right way, I mean, I've seen them be 90 to 100 pages long. And they ask it because the RFP request is going to ask you all the questions and you have to answer them properly or you'll get excluded.
Yeah.
You know, so you gotta hire an RFP writer that can look at the questions, understand your qualifications, which is ours. And I would get them in touch with my processors that we would use and say, I need you to talk to this person to make sure, and I'd be on the call, but it's exhaustive, man. You gotta do it right. And if you miss one thing, they'll throw you out.
Yeah. Okay. He said, I mean, to the DAC team, who do we submit it to? If you filled out, request for proposal is sent to a large government entity. It's not sent to DAC. So unless you're talking about a proposal for just a request for a payment processing proposal, the customer goes to your replicated website and fills out the form at the payment processing page. You are allowed to fill that out for them if you've got their statements to upload, but don't fill it out for them. They must upload statements. They can't advance. So you can assist them. If you've got the statements, you can fill it out and submit it. But what we don't want to do is have you filling it out and then going, oh, cool, who's going to call him? He won't even see it unless they've uploaded all the bank statements. So we don't send anything to him until it's a complete package, unless it's a startup. We're actually fine tuning the form now where if they're not doing processing, we still are going to require some other things before we send them to them. Because I look at the percentage, just like our funding guys, about 80% of our fundings when we first started, before we required upload, we never saw documents. We would call and call and call. And we don't want to do that to any of our partners. A couple calls and a few emails. And at that point, the customer is not interested apparently. So it's up to you at that point to reach back out and shake that tree and get the documents in. That's it for all the questions, buddy. Hey, I'm really excited. Thank you for all this knowledge. I think we'll have some more because I know that as we go into you can come into some things of how to, maybe someone asked, is there any cold calling advice, on phone calls or that's a whole training in itself, obviously, but is it even worth cold calling at this point, payment processing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, you're just, you're trying to be a consultative salesperson and just saying, hey, you know what? I have from the DAC rep, hey, I've got a connection that can help you out with merchant processing. Does it make sense for us to take a look? And they'll say, well, what does that involve? Well, if you just send me your 3 statements, I can take a look at it and tell you whether or not we can move forward. But I always say in the merchant processing world, whatever anybody asks you, say, yes, we can do that. Because if you're currently doing it, somebody can provide it or is providing it. Yeah. We just got to find a different vendor that'll give it to you for a better rate, or better program assistance, whatever we got to do to facilitate making your payment life easier. So cold calling is 100% harder than warm. I can tell you that. Okay. You gotta get past the gatekeeper. You got to get to the right person. And, I mean, I always do this, any contractor or any business that I call on or I spend money with, I 100%, I'll give you this was a bizarre one today. Got done playing golf here where I play golf in our neighborhood. And the guy that I played with came up to me and he said, here, I want you to try this cookie. My friend is getting in the cookie business. And I said, okay. Tried 1 lemon cookie and 1 chocolate chip cookie. I said, man, those both taste great. I said, who's doing those? He goes, buddy of mine that is, getting into the business of manufacturing cookies and whatever. And I go, well, where's he going to sell them? Said he's going to sell them to the Boy Scouts. He's going to send them to the baseball teams, the hockey teams, the whatever. I said, well, how are they going to accept payments? How are they doing that? And he goes, nobody's ever asked us that. And he's part of the deal. And I said, well, where do you want to take the payments? And he said, wherever we can. I said, all right, so you need something on your cell phone that you can just log into, take a payment, hit the button, put the credit card in, bang, it's done. Or you're going to walk around with a laptop. Are you going to be at a table in front of Home Depot selling your cookies like Girl Scouts do? And they had all of them, everybody who's bought Girl Scout cookies out in front of a big store, this is all they have.
Yeah, little swipe ACH.
Yeah. So he said to me, he goes, so we never even thought about payments. He said, I'm going to call you tomorrow and I'm going to get, he goes, how do I set that up? I said, you fill out a 1-page application or 3-page application and we make it happen, get you approved, but you got to have a bank account. You got to have a tax ID and you got to put that all together before you do it. And he said, done deal. So that's I don't know how many cookies the guy's going to sell, but I mean, I buy my Girl Scout cookies from people in the neighborhood. And I also buy cookies from my number one lady in this business that supports me all the time. And you know her, Elzala, Z at the office. And I said, Z, who do you think handles the credit card processing for the Girl Scouts of America? And the numbers that those people do selling cookies, we'd all be retired. It's insane. And they've got a payment software on their websites for when you want to buy cookies, and they send out flash emails and say, yeah, how many cookies you want to buy? I'll buy this and this and this. And it's in everywhere we go takes payments. And wherever you are, it's not tough to be in a situation where you're standing in line and somebody's crying and whining about the darn credit machine isn't working again. Well, who's your rep? I don't know. I was at where was I the other day? Oh, you know that Mug and Bops up at 23 and 59? Their whole system was down and they said, we can't do anything but cash. There were people walking out of the store because they didn't have enough money to buy their donuts, their coffee, or their gas. So the terminal, the inside was down and the outside was down. So all these cars are just ripping through there. And I go, man, you guys don't have a backup? And they go, what do you mean a backup? And I go, have your boss give me a call. Because even if it's just a handheld terminal, 2 of them.
Yeah.
There,
you got internet, we can get you covered. We can get you covered. Yeah.
You're good until your POS guy gets it together.
Yeah. So you should have a redundant backup for something like that. No question. Okay. So 2 things. Number one, when you're checking out at a restaurant and you get your bill and you see they're not charging cash discount, guys, you're spending money. You see they're overpaying because they're not getting a convenience fee charged. There's a candidate for you. It's just like when we call on funding, when we relate and identify with them, it's all the same things. So, what's encouraging about this is these are toll booths. Every customer you get, you're saving them money. First of all, let's start with what you're doing for the customer. But second of all, they're little toll booths that you earn for and your family earns from. And residually, do you have a lifetime value of a customer generally when you get a payment processing customer, how long they stay with you?
As long as we take care of them, they're here. If you like one of my best opening questions is, just out of curiosity, when was your last time you talked to your credit card rep? And they go, they're supposed to call us.
Yeah.
I go, if you were watching my money, you'd be calling me every month. That kind of stuff. Or, hey, I don't know if it makes sense or not, but I think it may make sense. If you let me take a look, it's free of charge. And you might be the very first person that I haven't been able to help. And I'm not being cocky, because we have a lot of guys run around the industry and say, if I can't beat that guy's price, I'll give you $100. So they go in there and beat it by 1/4 of 1 basis point. And then they say, we beat it. All right, well, you didn't do me any good because you wasted my time. I had to listen to you for an hour and you saved me 20 cents. You should give me the $100 and get out of my store. But then when you walk in and you go, well, I mean, the greatest thing now is, hey, I'm not sure if you think your clientele will be amenable to paying the 4%. Why don't we give it a shot? If you want to, I'm not trying to complicate things for the merchant, but on the terminals, you can override any one of those you want.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't make that a practice, because it gets into be an accounting nightmare for you, because you're doing some on regular, you're doing some on dual pricing. But as long as we follow all the banking rules and all of the Visa rules and all of the wording and everything that we're doing, we will be A-okay.
No issues at all.
Yeah.
All right, Hugh, I appreciate it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say before we wrap up. I've got a couple more things, but
nope, I'm good. I think, when you're out there and you're going to get told no, for sure. And, I know that people that teach everybody how to sell is, when you get a no, you're one step closer to a yes. Keep that in mind, and don't sit on accounts and try to hatch them and bug 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 them. If they aren't doing it after the first or the second conversation and you've made sense and they say you've made sense, put it in your pipeline, but don't sit on top of it. Get on the phone and call somebody else. And then when you get a dentist, or you get a donut shop, or you get a restaurant, you say, hey, Bob right up the street, I just talked to him the other day, he's coming aboard. I don't know if you know Bob or not, but maybe you want to have a conversation with him and check it out. Then they go in there to eat and they go, man, that was smooth. That was really smooth. That worked out well. And I was behind 5 other people that didn't, nobody was whining about what they're doing, but it is becoming the way that people are transacting. And unless Visa, MasterCard, and Discover and Amex change the rules, it's the way they're going to be doing it.
I had a client who was also a business partner, did not want to add it. Donut and coffee shop, small purchase, thought it would light everyone up. Told him you could waive the fee at any time. I think he's waived it 3 times in the last 2.5 years. And we started early with it. I mean, that was an early adoption before COVID. So now today it's not even a discussion. No one even talks about it.
Right.
All right, guys. I know there's a couple other similar questions coming in. We're not going to hit those now. But yes, they've got the same type features on the phone apps as some of the others, and you can add tips and all that. Anything you can do in any business, like he said, yes, we can do it. Or maybe a different processor, or maybe a different thing, but we can do all that. All right, buddy. I appreciate you. I'm just going to wrap us up, and thanks again. We'll do it another time, and I'm looking forward to getting together with you about the CRM side, and also about the, I don't know, maybe it's 400,000, 350,000 applications we've gotten so far for funding. We've got a database that we need to be reaching out to. We've got the agent ID of record, and we've got their information. We might have a database to go after for some payment processing.
Absolutely.
But, we'll be talking about it, buddy. I want to get your expertise on how you recommend that. All right. Okay. Talk soon. Thanks, you. Appreciate you. Everyone, thanks so much for being here tonight. This is just when you look at our business as a referral agent, whether it's funding, whether it's instant funding, whether it's payment processing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's the Relevate product, if you want to lead with that, whether it's a consumer product. I mean, we've got every one of our products. If you focus on it, it could be a full-time income without ever building a team. That's the, keep this in mind, without ever building a team. You can take any one of these products and get yourself to a full-time income. And, when I had a little long distance company, when I say little long distance, we market a long distance phone bill. The average phone bill was $22. We made 13% of that as the company. We paid out 11% to the field. 11% of $22.50 is only $2.50 we were paying out to the field in commissions. And we had people at 10 grand a month in under a year, when there was only $2.50 total to pay out to the field, and they were only making pennies, right? Nickels, quarters. When you've got a product and you stay focused, but what we taught was, look at this like a 4-year education. Don't for a moment think that getting a college degree is bad. College degree is not bad, but you're going to spend a lot of money and a lot of time and make nothing the day you graduate until you get that job. With something like this, you could part-time represent the payment processing, part-time refer clients. And if you just have the conversations, you're okay with the people saying, nah, I'm not interested, thanks. And you're okay with that. You don't take it personally. You know, it's one step closer to yes. And anytime someone sells, they got a new product, you say what Hugh said today, well, how are you guys handling your payments? I mean, just it opens the door and you're building a relationship and you're actually consulting rather than selling, just like with our funding guys, just like with our healthcare. It's the same process for all of our services. Otherwise, we don't want to sell them, frankly. We only want to refer products we think are putting our customers in a better situation and are easy for you to get behind from your heart first. And then you put your words and your feet behind it. So think about if you only focused on payment processing and you went out and got just a handful of clients a month. Over 4 years, you graduate from that college degree, you graduate from your payment processing program, and you've got, how much in processing are you doing? Several million a month in processing with, you know, something like 0.75% or 75 basis points as your residual revenue. For every million in process, for every 100,000, that's 700 in residual revenue. You're making 50% of that, 375. You get to $1 million, you're making 3750 a month. You get to 2 million, 7,500 a month, 3 million, 11,000 a month. How long does it take you to get? It might be one client. You just never know. But if you don't have the conversations, and that's the same thing we're going to say with every service we sell, folks, it's really important that you get past the start line. You don't just get down in the crouch and put your 3 fingers on the start line. You actually, someone pulls the trigger and you go. And I'm just going to encourage you. I think you've heard enough today. Watch this over and over if you need to start having some conversations. They'll be clumsy at first, but hey, doesn't it make sense that they give us an opportunity to see what we can save them? It's hard to say no to. No, that doesn't make sense. He didn't say, do you want me to look at it? He said, does that make sense to see what I can save you? Oh, how do you say no to that? No, it doesn't make sense. They can say, oh, I've already saved. I've already had it looked at. I understand. We'll look at it for free. Doesn't make sense to have it looked at. We're happy to do it for you. I think we can save you. And then the 2 questions, what is your top line credit card sales? What's your fees? Whatever that fee is, add a 0 to it. That's what you could save them a year by switching to convenience fee or dual price and cash discount. Or could save you, for sure, we can save you a little money on that fee every month. And again, that's by lowering the cost above wholesale if they want standard processing. So we've got our hands on a great situation here. This is not costing anyone a dime. It's saving them a lot of dimes. Even if they have to buy some new equipment, it pays for itself in no time. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate all the questions you asked. Sorry if we missed any. We'll be taking more questions. We're going to do this again. We appreciate you all. God bless you. Have a great night, everybody.